Okay, wait a minute. All right, hey guys, what's up? Amazingly, I can do yet another video. My son is still napping. Okay, so I have been, since I did my reintroduction to YouTube, I've been wanting to do my birth story. So since he's still sleeping, I'm going to try and get this done, hopefully before he wakes up. I just did my parenting tag video, and I did not realize it is like 40 minutes long. It is ridiculous. I know I rambled and stuff, but I didn't realize it was going to be that long. I'm still going to upload it. I hope people actually watch it. So, my birth story. I was due June 6, 2011. At about 25 weeks, I got a very, very bad case of hemorrhoids. I mean, they were ridiculous. They were not inside the rectum. They were out. It was like about 5 or 6, nodes, whatever, like on the outside of my rectum. And they were very, 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 very painful. And they lasted for about 2 weeks. And they gave me some, like extra strength, like basically preparation H. It was like hydrocortisone, like a 2% or something like that eventually helped. So when I got to, you're probably like, what the heck does that have to do with your birth story? But it does have a connection. When I got to about, I think it was like the day before I turned 37 weeks, or like 2 days before, like that Saturday or Friday, I felt a tingling sensation in my butt, and I knew what was coming. I knew what was about to happen. So I attempted to take the medication that they had given me before to kind of catch it and, have them not come on so strong. That didn't work. So by the time that Monday rolled around, they were in full effect and I was in complete pain. Actually, I think I turned 37 weeks on like that Sunday, or was it Monday? Whatever day it was, we decided, okay, well, we're going to wait until the day after I turned 37 weeks just to be on the safe side, because I know, technically 37 weeks is considered full term. So just in case they had to, make a decision as far as delivering him, I could do that and not being in any pain, because my husband did not like seeing me in pain. Like it was just ridiculous how bad it was. So at first we were going to go, we made a decision. I'm going to the emergency room. They end up checking me out, was sending me, of course, to the baby, the maternity triage. They end up checking me out first for the baby. Then they sent me downstairs, and some wacko doctor was trying to like push them back up in my butt, and it was very, very painful. What he was trying to do to relieve them, that was not going to work. I was just completely, pissed off and in pain. And when they called upstairs, they were like, they couldn't admit me because there were other women who were naturally going into active labor. They didn't have the rooms. They didn't have the nurses. So as far as me just going upstairs, that wasn't going to happen when I wasn't in active labor. But I couldn't take the pain. Luckily, the next day, I had a doctor's appointment. So I went to, my doctor's appointment. I, called ahead of time to let her know that I'm coming in for my scheduled appointment, but I'm in pain. Like when I got there, people were looking at me like, is she in labor? Why is she at the doctor's office instead of like at the hospital if she's in labor? That's just how much pain I was in. I could barely walk. Like I had to sit down, like everything was like painful. She looked at it. She had a resident, like a student there. She had people coming in, looking at them, because she's like, this is literally one of the worst cases of hemorrhoids that I've seen, because most people, theirs are still inside of their rectum. And these were like outside, and they were really, really, really bad. Like, I had my husband take pictures of them and everything. So she's just like, okay, well, she checked me. She's like, you're not even a centimeter dilated, Shakia. And I was already having like Braxton Hicks contractions and stuff like that, but I wasn't dilating at all. But mind you, I was only 37 weeks. So she was like, well, okay, I'm going to do a membrane sweep strip, whatever term it is. And I'm going to try and stretch you. She's like, I want you to go to the hospital. She's going to try and, induce your labor. I want you to go to the hospital. Tell them, yes, you feel like you're in labor. She's like, I'm going to call ahead and I'm going to get you taken care of. So of course we go, well, I know once I got there, I wouldn't be able to do anything. We really weren't, because I didn't think they would, she would send us and they would admit us because of the day before. So we went home, got everything that we needed. I ate something because I knew once I got there, I wasn't going to be able to eat. Went in. They knew I was coming. They had a room for me, but they did not have a nurse for me. So I could not go into the room without having the nurse there. But I was in so much pain. I'm like, there are people in there waiting for their loved ones to have their baby, and I'm sitting in the waiting room. They wouldn't even send me to triage because they already knew what was up. So they, there was no need for me to go there. So I'm sitting in the waiting room in pain. My grandmother took the pictures that I can't say husband, but he's technically my fiance. He took on the pictures that he had. She was showing them to everyone. Look, my grandbaby is in pain. We need her in a room. We need to, put her somewhere. She needs to be able to lay down. And amazingly, that got them on the ball. And once they saw those pictures and how graphic they were, I was in a room. So speed forward, whatever, they were going to try, basically induce me. They gave me Pitocin and gave me all these things. It made the contractions come, but I really could care less about the contractions. That's just how painful, the pain was in my butt, from those hemorrhoids. I could care less about a contraction, and I wasn't thinking about an epidural. If the epidural could have made the hemorrhoid pain go away, I was all for it. But as far as actual contractions and epidural, I wasn't even thinking about any of that. I just wanted the pain in my butt to stop. So we tried, as far as Pitocin and things of that nature, for pretty much 24 hours. Nothing was changing. I was not dilating. There were no changes whatsoever. So then they're like, okay, well, we're going to go ahead, give your body a break, let you get something to eat, be able to disconnect you from all these monitors, let you go, freshen up, take a shower, do whatever, and we'll start again. Or you can have a C-section. I really, 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 really wanted to experience having a vaginal childbirth. Some people, opt for a C-section, very quickly. I think that people choose to do that. They choose that option, too quickly sometimes. I really, really want to try and have a vaginal, but they're like, okay, well, that's an option for you to have a C-section. You can have this baby now and be done with it. They, because they said the reason why they were so bad is just the position that he was in. They figured he was going to be a big baby, and he was pressing on that area, in which was causing the hemorrhoids and causing the excessive pain. So I was like, well, no, there's so what do you want to do? I said, well, I'd rather just go ahead and, wait and try to do, the induction, try, another round of Pitocin, later on. So we end up doing it, the next day, trying it again. It didn't work. So they were like, at this point, your only options are to either have a C-section, or you could wait until you go home, did discharge, go home, and wait until next week. And if you have not gone to active labor, we can try and induce you again after you've hit 38 weeks. So at first I was all for that. And I'm like, okay, I'm dead set against having a C-section. I want to try and have him vaginally. And so I was like, okay, fine. I'm like, well, once he got there, we discussed it. I was like, okay, I want to have it vaginally. I'd rather wait till next week. Even wasn't having it. He was like, babe, I can't sit home, and watch you go through this pain, regardless of whether you're trying to, now you're going to go through this pain. They had they had nurses come in and say, Shakia, look, we have people who have hemorrhoids, and through the pushing process, they come out and they're in so much pain from the baby from pushing the baby out and the baby coming out, the hemorrhoids, and they're in a lot of pain. They're like, yours are already outside of your butt, so you're going to be in a ridiculous amount of pain, and it's just not worth it. The C-section isn't that bad, it's not a bad option, but for me, I was thinking it would be the worst. When I went on the tour for the hospital, they were like, when you have a C-section, it can be, about an hour or so before you see your child. And because I wanted to be able to, nurse him, I didn't want him to have a pacifier. I didn't want him to have any of that. The thought of him, being without anything for an hour, I was like, no, I don't want that to happen to my son. But then I'm like, well, what's an hour when, he didn't nurse before? I'm like, if he cries or whatever, So that part kind of freaked me out, and it did, and I was worried about, okay, well, whatever they're going to put into my body for me to have this, will I still be able to nurse? Will I be able to do those things, like I wanted to, and not have him have formula or pacifier? They had the anesthesiologist come in and let me know that, I would be able to. There was, there would be no effects and anything like that. So I decided to go ahead and, have the C-section. So they stopped the Pitocin, they stopped everything or whatever. But my OBGYN had a conference she had to go to in Sunrise. So by the time she did the function and came back still in Broward, by the time she got to the hospital, it would have been too late. So they scheduled it for that Friday. So on Friday, schedule it, go in and do all the stuff for the C-section. They go and, they prep me or whatever, and they start the countdown. They let Yvene come in, and as she's like, once they cut and they got through everything, the doctor was like, oh, wait, actually, let me back up. When I had to have my C-section, of course they numb you and stuff. So they gave me the medicine, and they laid me down, they were prepping and stuff, letting it kick in or whatever. And it's so funny because every time I went to an appointment or went to anything, everyone's always like, are you a nurse? Are you in the medical field? Because I research everything, So when they do the little test to go up and see, to prick you to see how high, to see where your, how numb you are, I felt it. Actually, no, I'm sorry, all over the place. Before that, when they put the iodine on, I'm like, I feel that. She's like, you just feel me rubbing? I said, no, it's cold. So they knew that that's when they were like, are you a nurse? Like, how do you know, as far as feeling the fact that it's cold? And I was like, I research everything. So they did the little test. Sure enough, I wasn't fully numbed out on one side. My legs and stuff were dead. And oh my God, I could not feel a hemorrhoid pain. I felt like I was in heaven. But for C-section purposes, it has to be at a certain level. So they physically, a bunch of people had to come in and rotate me and turn me and move my legs. And when she did it, I felt some of the medicine fall out the first time, but they thought, okay, it was just a couple of drops, which lets you know when there's a certain dosage required for your body based on size or whatever, it is a requirement and you need every last drop of that, or you take the risk of it not taking properly. So they went, restuck me again, laid me back down, time for, surgery time. When I tell you, once they cut in, the first thing that came out of her mouth was, oh wow, I forgot the term of it, there's meconium. He had already boo-booed at 37 weeks. Most kids, or that's normally a risk factor when the child is late, so that happened at 37 weeks. So I thank God, and I see it as a blessing. It was inconvenient for me to have those hemorrhoids, but I think that was all in God's plan. I had to go through that to have the C-section, because if he had, pooped in there was meconium. If I would have gone and let him sit like that, he would have been breathing in meconium for days, weeks, or whatever. And, he could have had major breathing issues. So I thank God for the fact that I chose to, I had the wisdom to go ahead and do the C-section, because if I even would have waited, another week for the induction, he would have been just sitting in poop for, that was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, for 3 days or so, or 4 days or so. If you count for all of Friday, depending on when he did it. So there was meconium in there. And so I was grateful for the fact that, they convinced me to get this, to have the C-section, because it would have affected, him, long term. So of course he came out. He didn't really cry, that much. Well, at least to me, it didn't seem like he cried that much. But then in the video that Yvene has, it seemed like he was crying a lot, which I'm going to finally post that, because my doctor didn't care. She allowed us to take pictures and record the actual process. Well, you can't really see them cut into me, really, but I have this awesome shot that Yvene got on the camera when Mekhai-Jeremiah's head is literally coming out of my belly. So that's really cool. I'm going to post that one today as well. So of course he came out, everything that I was concerned about, it didn't even seem like an hour. He was actually gone away from me for like an hour and 15 minutes. By the time they go and they're sewing you up and doing all that stuff and they're prepping you to be able to go to recovery, you didn't even see the time go by. And by the time I was in recovery, they're, washing him up, doing whatever they need. And then he came to me and I was able to nurse, how I wanted to. I did the whole breast crawl to where I did not physically force it into him. I laid him on my chest and allowed him to smell and look for it. And he gravitated towards my boob. And then once he started to make that move towards it, the nurse kind of, guided his head towards it. And he, latched on perfectly. So I was very grateful for that, because I know that some people don't get that to where their child latches on, naturally, which is why I was glad that I didn't force it in. I just kind of let him, and to see if he would gravitate towards, his food source, and he did. So, yeah, that's my, I guess you can say, not labor and delivery, but that is my birth story, since he was born via C-section. And he was born on May 20th, 2011 at 9:45 a.m. And I think that's what time it was. I'm not sure. And he was, I always get in trouble for this with Yvene because I always forget. I want to say he was 6.5 pounds, not 7.5 pounds. He was 6.5 pounds, but at 37 weeks. Can you all imagine if I would have gone to full term, how big that baby would have been? But yeah, that is my birth story. And hopefully by the time I do another video, he'll be up, because I realize now, I started my videos, and since I haven't done them, no one has ever seen Mekhai-Jeremiah. Oh, I'm sorry. And that is his name. We could not decide, once I found out it was a boy, his dad wanted his initials to be MJ. So I did not like the way Mekhai, first name, Jeremiah, Yvene, and then his last name, Pericles, sounded. So for me, I like the double name. I think it's unique. So his first name is Mekhai-Jeremiah. We call him MJ. He has his father's first name as his middle name, Yvene, and then, of course, his father's last name. So his name is Mekhai-Jeremiah, Yvene Pericles. So people say I'm crazy. They like he's never going to learn how to spell his name, but I love it, and I love him. So until my next video, and hopefully I'll probably be able to get another one in before he wakes up. He's taking a really, really long nap today, so that's great. All right, guys. See you later. Peace.